So what I would like to discuss with you are the pros and cons of international migration. We have some countries that have histories of migration. Most prominently, probably the US. US has been an immigrant nation. And also if nowadays in the US you talk to anyone, oh, I'm American, Italian origin, German origin, this and that. Yeah, more recent, maybe a second, third or fifth generation, but more or less it's an immigrant country. Germany also has increasingly become a migration nation. According to different statistics, up to 20% of the people nowadays who are born to at least one parent who is originally from a different country. We have seen also in recent years the migration development, or even being labeled crisis in 2015, where from Syria and other countries, millions or more than 1 million people came to Germany, and more recently now Ukraine. Okay, some basics. Immigration in general offers, from a business perspective, but also from a personal perspective, opportunities and challenges. Migration, people come from different countries, different cultures. That can also create some differences, some changes. Most obviously it was when migrants from Syria came. They look different, they have different religions, different culture, and that may also bring some changes. Or think of Wolfsburg, Italian guest workers in the 60s and 70s. They also bring a different vibe to a town, and that changes quite a bit. And culture can also have quite some consequences for political environment, building consensus, agreement and so forth, because we have many different ideas and opinions. There are quite a few arguments against, and if you read the newspapers and you look at the election polls, think of Germany. We had election in Lower Saxony. I think the party that won the most votes was AfD, the right-wing party. And also particularly in Eastern Germany, they feel very threatened and they're worried. From a business perspective, that can usually mean if you have migrants entering to industrialized nations, they suppress wage levels, meaning lower the cost of labor will drop, it will sink, that's the idea, because you add more supply. And it may also mean migration in general can also lead to low-skilled migrants, so poorly educated, but that can also be steered by governments like Canada. They have a point system. Australia has a point system, who they give residence cards or not. But if it's low-skilled, the threat or the perceived threat is always the foreign migrants, they're all poor, lowly skilled, they will exploit the social benefit system, and that can all create all kinds of problems. They're also worried about job losses because the immigrants take our jobs. That's very often the case that these slogans are being used, though that is typically not the main reason, because these jobs are available and they have been also available before. And then integration, social integration can be very problematic, depending in which receiving country we're from. Maybe also they think, oh, security, there's more crime rates. That has been also discussed in the literature. That may not really be the case. And then I think what we talked here in this class, that was very interesting, brain drain for developing countries. So the sending countries, because very often it means developing countries, they send migrants, or migrants relocate from developing to industrialized countries, and then the sending nations, they leave behind, even they're already suffering, and the best people are leaving the country. It's more difficult to move them forward. Then we have also many arguments for migration. From an HR perspective, very simple. We need to fill the talent shortage. Migrants can fill these gaps. From a society level also, if they work, they generate tax income. It's good for this society as such. For multinational enterprise, that can be an advantage because they can remain competitive, because they need IT professionals from India. They need these and that type of people who are really helpful to move the company forward, but also the whole economy. And so overall, immigrants, or also entrepreneurs, they contribute to economic growth and innovation. And that is very consistently found across so many different studies in economics, business, and so forth, and that eventually can lead to local job creation. Some examples of companies that are founded by immigrants. It's a little funny. eBay, Google, both look a little similar if you look at it, or Intel. And then probably you also know these two people, the pictures. BioNTech. They're all founded by migrant workers. Give you some more details about our German case. Most of you probably has received vaccination against COVID-19. As we know, the people who invented the vaccine were a couple, a husband and wife from Turkish descendants. Ugur Sahin, who was born in Turkey. If you look at the map, you will see it's really far eastern part of Turkey, very near to Syria, Aleppo. That's where he was born. And then he was born in 1965. He left Turkey, I think at the age of 4 with his parents. And you may remember I'm from Cologne. And his parents, they migrated to Köln, Köln to work in the factory of Ford. With Volkswagen, here in this case Ford in Köln. He attended then German primary school. He was not a very good student in primary school, or he was a good student, but his teacher recommended him, no, you're not good enough, you should not go to gymnasium, you should go to a lesser school. And eventually then his neighbor, German neighbor, said, no, he's a really smart boy, he should go to gymnasium. And eventually they could convince then the school that he can go to gymnasium. So he eventually attended gymnasium, was then a top student in his school and graduated and attended University of Köln, studied medicine. Then his doctoral supervisor, he relocated to Saarland, University of Saarland, and there he met his wife, Özlem, who's also a Turkish background. She was already second generation born in Germany, but because both of her parents, or they didn't have enough time, her father was a medical doctor, she was sent to Turkey, to Istanbul, and the parents raised her until age 4. She came back, attended university, blah, and so forth. And both of them then met in the hospital in Saarland. And then, as you may know, both of them are really top-notch researchers that maybe you're not aware of. They've published in Nature, Science. They're really excellent researchers, but they also realized beyond research, we can also start a company. And they started a company, probably you don't know, Ganymed, in 2001, and they sold this also for more than 100 million euros a couple of years ago. But what we all know about is they founded BioNTech already in 2008. And then they developed, as we all know, the vaccine. Because in January 2020, at the very beginning of the crisis, or they knew already, when they heard about the virus that started in China, that this could cause a huge pandemic. So in January 2020, at the very beginning, they canceled all the holidays and asked all the people, come to the office. Now we need to develop a vaccine for COVID-19. And the rest is history. They have sold, here's some of the data. The company itself, BioNTech, now generates 19 billion euros of sales. They employ more than 3,000 people, mostly in Germany. They produce the vaccines mostly in Germany. They also have now different locations, production facilities in the US, in Singapore, and different countries. And they produce 2.6 billion vaccines. And many more will follow. And this sounds a little cheesy, but they saved the world to some extent. A Turkish couple in Germany. Another example, probably you know Google. All of you have used Google, I guess. Most of you also got the vaccine from BioNTech. Google was built by 2 buddies. Maybe we have also 2 of you in the future who will also start another company. Most of you probably know Larry Page. Yeah? You know Larry Page. Did you know also Sergey Brin? Yes. So these are the 2 co-founders. And they studied computer science at Stanford in California, Silicon Valley. Yeah, so Larry Page is the typical American guy. He's from Michigan, well-off family. Right away, he went then to Stanford University for a bachelor, master, and PhD. Sergey was born in Moscow. His parents were Jewish, Russian Jews, and they left Russia because they had limited opportunities in Russia because of their religion. And eventually his father, Michael or Mikhail, he found they left Russia, and through Russian connections, a colleague, a friend, found him a job in Maryland. And then Sergey, at age, I think 6, he went then to the US, attended schooling, first graduated from, also smart guy. I think at age 19, he graduated already with his bachelor degree in mathematics from University of Maryland, and then eventually also went to Stanford. Stanford PhD. And then at Stanford, they met these two guys. First, they were not liking each other, but eventually they did. And they had lots of heated debates. And they started the idea of Google in '96, so not that long ago. And they started their office in their dorm, in the dormitory. In the dorm rooms, they scrapped together some computers, and then eventually founded the company in '98. And interesting is, who funded them? From whom did they get money from? To start a company, you need money. And at the beginning, what they call angel investors. Some individuals who have money and who will give some money. So then Larry and Sergey, they approached their professor, David Cheriton, who is a Canadian. He's a Canadian who eventually became a professor in the US at Stanford. And he had a former student, Andy Bechtelsheim. Have you heard of him? He's one of the founders of Sun Microsystems. That's already maybe before your time. But he's not Andy. He's Andreas. Andreas Maria, blah, 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 Bechtelsheim. He's from Bavaria, a small town in Bavaria. But he also eventually migrated to the US. Because Bavaria was too small for him, and he wanted more and go to the center of IT, computer science, which first meant Carnegie Mellon. It's a good university for computer science, and eventually also Stanford. And then he also started his own company. So German guy, Bavarian guy, studied under David, a Canadian professor. And Larry and Sergey went to the professor and said, hey, we have a good idea here, what do you think? And then the professor, David, yeah, maybe not a bad idea, but I'm a professor. But I know a friend here, Andy, he has a lot of money because he just sold, or he went IPO, and he earned hundreds of million US dollar. So he invited Andy, and they both met at David's house in California. And then the two students, they explained the idea about Google, how the search, the algorithm. And then Andy thought, whoa, that's a cool idea. Okay, I'll give you money. So he decided, I give you 100,000 US dollar. And if you just sold a car, if you just earned hundreds of million US dollars, it's nothing. It's just, why not? It's just, okay, here, out of the pocket. And I think also that's what he did. He just got his check and wrote it on the spot. Here, it's money. Have some money. And then the professor said, oh, wow, I also like the idea. Oh, I also write a check for you guys. And they're already at 350,000 US dollar. And then, but they still need more money. So what do you need? So you look around, who has money? And then they found Ram Shriram, Indian guy, from Chennai, where he studied there, and who also migrated to California, and is also a very professional IT entrepreneur. He worked for a company, Jungle Bee or something, back then, and that company eventually was sold to Amazon. And Amazon, okay, Jeff Bezos, I think he's an American guy. So among the whole group, he's maybe the only American, but I think even he has some ancestors from elsewhere. And then Amazon guy, he also, okay, I like the idea, so I give you some money. And so they easily collected 1 million US dollar. And as you see, Silicon Valley is really the magnet, the center of IT, IT professionals. And then that's how an international group get together. They start the idea, do the business. And we know nowadays it's one of the largest companies. Stock price, sales, employees, huge companies. Again, these just two examples of immigrant founders, how they've grown their business. Also here you can see it's an interesting story. It's not just one foreigner, it's a group of different migrant workers who pooled their resources together to start up a company. All right, so now coming back to a big picture or more in general, M&E's multinational enterprises' influence on immigration. Yeah, I think we talked about these aspects before. So unskilled immigration, of course, causes low wage, low productivity economy. Well, that's one of the consequences, but can also be some, not only unskilled, can also be highly skilled. The thing is then also if companies rely on these immigrants, this also means they will disregard other aspects. Yeah? So some governments, some countries, they really focus on immigrants only, and they do not look at how to promote gender, how to promote women, how to keep more aging workforce in their ranks. Yeah, but overall, for a multinational enterprise migration, then also means lower labor cost. Yeah, and that's a huge advantage at one point. Yeah, but also they may not need to go out. They can also wait and sit. But there's a receiving migrants, but also relocating eventually. Then I think we discussed sending and receiving. It's also a critical issue. Not only governments, but also MNCs can do something. Yeah, also to develop some kind of responsible immigration policies, benefiting both sending and receiving nations. They can also have training systems, setting up facilities and affiliates in foreign countries so that migration benefits more than just the organization or one country.